Who are the biggest losers of the transfer window, Targo?
So I'm going to start with a hot take. This one might be a little bit of a hot take here.
Okay. I'm listening.
Liverpool,
Okay.
I think, had a bad transfer window.
Why?
So we look at the players they lost. It was pretty much their entire midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Naby Keita.
Yeah, it was like 7 midfielders.
Yeah, they
total.
lost a bunch of them. They lost Firmino, and they brought in a whole new midfield. We got Dominic Szoboszlai,
Mm-hmm.
Alexis McAllister, this Japanese guy, or I think he's Japanese, Wataru Endo, and they brought in Ryan Gravenberch. Szoboszlai and McAllister, fantastic signings. We knew McAllister would thrive in the Premier League. He's been doing it. Szoboszlai is kind of a young, unproven talent, but he's looking good. We knew the skill was there. Endo, older midfielder from Stuttgart from the Bundesliga. And then Ryan Gravenberch.
Very unproven.
Hasn't played a lot.
Yeah.
Very unproven. He went from Ajax to Bayern Munich where he didn't play at all. And now he's come to Liverpool in the Premier League. So I have my doubts there. I do. But it's not just that. I guess where they really lost was in their negotiations with Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo losing out to Chelsea. They lost big there.
Huge.
They had a big money bid accepted by Brighton, and Caicedo said no. Their main target, young player Romeo Lavia, they were negotiating with him what seemed like all summer, and then they lose out to him last minute to Chelsea. And so that's gotta hurt. So then they go to these kind of two unproven players, and Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch.
Yeah, not to mention the player that we both thought that they should and would sign this summer. They didn't even bid for him.
And Jude Bellingham.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they bid more for Moises Caicedo. In what world does that make sense?
It doesn't, man. It doesn't. They could have got Jude Bellingham, who probably would have gone to Liverpool for 100%. Cheaper than Moises Caicedo, the offer they put in for him.
Yeah, it would have saved almost 20 mil.
So, yeah, that's... And then sticking with Merseyside, I got to talk about Everton and their transfer. Lack of, let's call it.
Yeah.
So this is a team that has barely survived the last 2 seasons. And what did they do this transfer window, man? Not a lot. I mean, they brought in, they desperately need goals, and they brought in a couple strikers in Danjuma and Beto.
Yeah.
They got a youngster, Chermiti, however you pronounce it. He looks like a young up-and-comer. And then they lost Alex Iwobi, and who's probably one of their best performers last season. And then they lost Amari Gray.
Yeah.
And they brought in Jack Harrison.
Don't forget Neil Maupay.
They sold him, yeah. They did bring in Jack Harrison, who I think could be a good signing. But I mean, let's be honest. Are these proven Premier League players? In Danjuma, Beto,
no,
a young 19-year-old.
We saw Danjuma last season for Tottenham, and he was awful.
Well, he didn't really play. I mean,
yeah.
So there's that.
When he did play, he was awful.
And so I think
so much pressure to put on young forward in Beto to produce.
So I think they're going to struggle. They finally got a goal this weekend, so that's good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, And then I have to shout out honorable mentions for a terrible transfer window to Sheffield United and Wolves.
Okay. And
Sheffield sold their probably best 2 players in Sander Berge and Ilman Ndiaye and didn't replace them. And then Wolves sold a host of talent and obviously did not replace them.
Yeah. I don't have anything good to say about Sheffield United, Wolves, or Everton as far as the transfer window goes. But yeah, I would say that Liverpool hot take, that's an interesting one. Yeah. I would say their transfer failings is definitely the worst part of their transfer window.
Yes.
They became the laughingstock of the Premier League.
Yeah, when did Chelsea become a bigger club, I guess, than Liverpool?
Never. Yeah, I don't know. All right. So
Let me hear yours.
I got a hot take too. Okay.
You do? Okay.
Let's go back in time, Targo. Okay. Close your eyes. Let's go back to, I don't know, beginning of the transfer window or January. If I was to tell you a team would sign Johnny Evans, Rasmus Højlund, Mason Mount, Sergio Reguilon, and Sofiane Amrabat, who would you think it was? Nottingham Forest or Manchester United?
I wouldn't think Nottingham Forest. Maybe a.
If I took out Rasmus Højlund, Højlund, I bet you would think. That's why I didn't include Onana on here, because obviously he would not sign for Nottingham Forest. But that's my point. Manchester United's transfer window is something of a team that's mid to bottom of the table, barring 2 players. This is supposed to be one of the biggest teams in the world. Players are wanting to go to, even if there's no Europe. And they still have Europe. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Not to mention, you can see by their performances on the field how bad it actually is.
I think it didn't help the whole sale of the club at the beginning of the transfer window. And so I'm guessing a lot of money wasn't given to them. But if you look at their transfers, they obviously spent quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happened there, if that had something to do with it. Because you would have thought, no disrespect to Rasmus Højlund, but they could have gotten a little bit more proven striker, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does. I mean, obviously he looked all right when he came on the field against Arsenal, but kid, a lot of pressure to place on his shoulders.
Also, the bar's not very high when it's you and Anthony Martial. So,
but yeah, you look at how much money they spent, and has it made them better? Made them better?
Not great value for money. I will say that. And then, well, I mean, they signed 11 players, 400 million spent, and still have no depth. And yes, I'm talking about Chelsea.
Which is interesting, because we said they were the winners here a couple weeks ago.
We did. And then what the play on the field has said otherwise. I don't know if that's a manager thing, if that's a player thing. I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yes, we will.